What's happening, YouTube? It's your boy Kite, and I'm back with the Power System crossover video. I know it's been a minute, but life, man, shit happens. You know, you go places, meet people, do new things, enjoy life because you only get one. But the important thing is, I'm back, man, because whenever I do take a break, this is all I can think about, so I gotta come back. And I'm ready to get rolling again. So when you do see this video, comment, bro. When you read it all out and understand it, comment your thoughts. That's why I make these videos. I started YouTube to find like-minded people, so commenting helps me do that, and liking and subscribing helps, obviously, you know, to get that out there and become a community, all that stuff. But show some love, man. You know how it goes. But today we're going to be recreating or giving or creating a Nen Ability for Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul. You heard that right. He's a seinen just staple, Mount Rushmore. Who's the Mount Rushmore of seinen anime? You know, you got, I put Kaneki on there, probably Guts, Musashi, Thorfinn, those guys. A lot of people would say Agni or Agna from Fire Punch. I can't even remember, bro. He could be up there. I don't know if he'd be on the Mount Rushmore. I'm capping. But yeah, we're creating an ability for Kaneki. This is long overdue, man. Long overdue. But when we create an ability for someone, what's the first thing we have to do? Everyone knows. We have to decide the Nen affinity. I usually go based on personality and how they would be, but given Ken Kaneki had a switch, you could say that he was originally something and then turned into a specialist, or he was originally this and whatever. We're not doing all that. I decided he's going to be a transmuter just for the sake of the ability I wanted to create for him. So transmutation is Ken Kaneki's affinity for this video. Let's talk about the name of the Hatsu, because that's super important. Everyone said this is bungee gum. This is skill hunter. You know, that's the stuff we like to hear, man. Jajanken. No, I'm kidding. Deep Purple. Hotel Rafflesia. APR. Not APR. Hakaware. Yeah, the name is important. We all know that. So what is the name of Ken Kaneki's Nen Ability? I've decided to grant it the name bloodright. That's R-I-T-E, not R-I-G-H-T. Bloodright. And if you know Tokyo Ghoul, then you know exactly why it's called bloodright. And I'm steering you in the direction. I'm leading you on. You know how it goes. Stick around though, because it does start simple and it gets complex, as it always does. You know how it goes. So let me give you the strengths of Ken Kaneki's Nen strengths and his fighting style, because I haven't done this before, but I thought it would be a cool aspect to add to these videos. How do the characters fight in the Hunter x Hunter verse, and what are their specialties? I would say that Ken Kaneki's Nen strengths are N, so detection and all that stuff, and making his Hatsu or Nen invisible, Zetsu, turning off his aura. Those are his three best, you know, Nen categories or Nen aspects. Next, we have stealth as his style, espionage, spying, intelligence gathering, intelligence collecting, assassinations. So he'd be in the business with Killua and them. He'd probably be on par. He could be a Zoldyck. We could say that Kaneki's the fucking fifth Zoldyck kid. I don't fucking know. We could say he's got the white, black hair, whatever. Speed, agility, and mid to close range combat. I would say mid range combat is his specialty. Like the most special, the one he's best at. But yeah, those are Ken Kaneki's strengths. In Zetsu, and then he's assassination, stealth, spy type of guy that is good at mid range, mid to close range, but best at mid range. Now, let me give you an outline of the Hatsu itself. After inflicting an injury upon himself, Kaneki can transmute his aura into a blood-like substance. It has all the properties of blood: coagulation, hardening, you know, thinning, which is thinning the blood, making it run, making it flexible and fluid-like, and then just regular blood, sticky, kinda, it dries, all that stuff. Whatever blood does is what this aura does. You know, it's kind of like the rubber and gum for bungee gum. You get it. This substance can only be released from 4 specific spots on the body, and they are all located on the back. If you catch my drift, you know where I'm going with this. Don't tweak out. So, what does bloodright do? I just gave you a brief outline, but what exactly is the description of bloodright? Because you need that. It's what they do for every Nen ability. Kaneki transmutes his aura into a special blood-like substance that forms into different shaped tendrils. That's important. They're in the shape of tendrils. It's not just this gooey stuff that goes around him. It's not lightning. It's not like this sticky substance that comes from his hand. It manifests in the shape of tendrils on the back. It's important. It can be used to attack, defend, and it has other special effects. Pay attention to the special effects part because those are the most interesting ones. And we're going to get into those in a second. So how does Kaneki activate bloodright? It's important. He must inflict a self-injury to activate his ability, and there are 4 types. Each specific injury type corresponds to one of the 4 versions of bloodright. So bloodright has 4 versions, and injuring yourself or specific injury corresponds to the activation of one of those 4 types. Let's talk about the 4 injuries and what type of bloodright they correspond to. So a cut or a wound involving blood activates Ukaku version of bloodright. So it'd be bloodright Ukaku, and a cut or a wound activates Ukaku. And for Ukaku, Nen releases from the shoulder area, the upper shoulder like trap area, right around here, in between the shoulder blades. That's where Ukaku activates from, and you need to gash, cut, slice, bleed to activate it. Next is a bruise wound, a hemorrhage, a contusion, whatever. This activates kokaku. So Nen releases from just below the shoulder blade, so right, somewhere around there in the middle of the back. That's kohaku, and it is activated by bruising yourself. Next, we have breaking a bone, and this activates Rinkaku. And Rinkaku is released from the lower back, or the back of the waist area. And then lastly, we have bikaku, which is activated from multiple injuries, and this releases from the tailbone or the coccyx area. Are you following me? The 4 different wound types are a cut, bruise, broken bone, and multiple simultaneous injuries. Cut, Ukaku. Bruise, kokaku. Broken bone, Rinkaku. And multiple injuries, bikaku. This is how you activate the ability. There's 4 types, and you have to do those 4 injuries to activate it, or else it won't work. You have to do it yourself as well. It has to be a self-inflicted wound. So someone beating your ass is not going to activate the ability. So if you're getting rushed, if you can't injure yourself, you're just going to get rushed, and that's it. That's how it goes. So now that I've told you the 4 types, Ukaku, kokaku, Rinkaku, and bikaku, what do they do? What do the 4 types do? This is the most important part and the most interesting part of the video. This is where shit gets sick, and I put my twist on this shit. Oh, I love it. This is my favorite part, bro. Every time is my favorite part. So, Ukaku. This is where bloodright manifests in the form of red feathery wings that enhance Kaneki's overall speed and attack speed. And it can only have 1 to 4 tendrils. They're each assigned the amount of tendrils, and it's a specific rule. You can't do anything about that. 1 to 4 tendrils. And this Ukaku increases Kaneki's speed and attack speed by granting him red feathery wings. So what else can you do with Ukaku? Since blood activates Ukaku, like if I had to activate Ukaku, bloodright Ukaku, I'd just go like that and just scrape and scratch and activate the blood coming out of my arm like that, and that would give me Ukaku. And then it transmutes that blood that is into poison, and it's infused into every single attack. So since blood activates it, that blood is then transmuted into, it's like a catalyst to form a poison that poisons your enemy every time you land an attack. So some attacks are, you can crystallize the feathers of Nen and emit them at an extremely fast rate. This is an emission technique. He can use 60% of emission. Since he's a transmutation, you can emit these. You can crystallize them, harden them, and shoot them out as feathers. Also, it grants you quick burst of flight. Since it is wings, and you can have anywhere from 1 to 4 wings, you can fly for short periods of time in quick bursts, but you can't like fly like a bird. You're more like a chicken or a fucking, not a duck. Ducks can fly pretty decently, actually. And lastly, it's weak in close combat. This is more of a long-range technique. You crystallize your feathers and you shoot them. It's not really good up close. It could probably be brittle and break if someone is strong enough. So this is a long-range speed technique. Ukaku, bloodright Ukaku grants speed, and attack speed to Kaneki. Pretty cool. Next is Kokaku. This version of bloodright erupts from below the shoulder blades and condenses the transmuted substance, granting a boost in defense. It condenses. It's like coagulation. Since bruises or the pooling of blood activates kokaku, it takes from that. It adopts that blood pooling effect and allows Kaneki to condense this transmuted substance into various objects. He can create shields or armor. It does create a boost in defense. So kokaku is for defense, and it allows him to manifest objects on his body. So he can create shields, he can create armor, he can also create various melee weapons. Swords, spears, hammers, drills, even extra arms. That's pretty sick. And it can form two different weapons at once. Since with kokaku, you get two tendrils. So he could have a shield and a sword, or shield and a spear, or armor and a sword. However he wants to do it. Two swords, a drill, you know. So yeah, that's kokaku, and it's weak to speed attacks. Since the blood or the aura is getting condensed into objects, it does weigh him down a significant amount. So the weakness to the kokaku would be speed. For the weakness for the Ukaku, the first one, was close combat. So there is a weakness to each one of these things, but there is pros and cons to everything, as you know. So yeah, kokaku is activated from bruising. You coagulate, it can make weapons, and it's very good for defense. If you're getting overwhelmed, kokaku is your best bet. Let's move on to Rinkaku. This version of bloodright activates on the back of the waist in the form of multiple scaled tentacles and grants regenerative properties and enhanced attack power. This goes from 1 to 8 tendrils. You can have anywhere between 1 to 8 tendrils. Since Broken Bones activates Rinkaku, I put this one as Broken Bones because this is the one Kaneki always uses. It's his natural Kagune formation. I'm going to say he does this thing. I love that shit. Let's say this is breaking the finger bone and activating Rinkaku. I think that's a nice touch. It's pretty cool. So, since Broken Bones activate Rinkaku, it uses the healing properties of bones to regen the tentacles over and over by keeping the aura more fluid. So like it thins the blood and allows him to regen, but it does make them weaker at the cost of regening them. But it does have healing properties. So it has an oppressive attack patterns and number of attacks. So although it can keep breaking the Rinkaku tentacles, or the enemy he can just keep regening them and just keep firing them and hitting you with them over and over again. It increases mobility and agility. Since there are 8 tendrils, you can move quick, agile, do weird movements because you have these extra appendages. The tentacles have relatively low attack power, though, as I said, because it is resulted from keeping the aura-like substance more fluid, and so it does make it weaker, but it makes up for that with quantity over quality. So they aren't as hard like a kokaku, but they can just keep respawning and attacking. So it's an oppressive fighting style. And Kaneki fights more aggressive using this version, healing as he fights. As I said, it gives you healing properties to the body as well, not just the Hatsu. And it's not like a instant heal, but it does cast like a slow healing buff as you fight, so your health increases as you go on, and then you'll be a little bit healed by the end of the fight if you win. So that's Rinkaku, and this is the one that Kaneki uses the most if he's fighting in a straight up fight. Rinkaku is going to be his go-to. Lastly, we have bikaku. This version of bloodright activates around the tailbone area in the form of a tail-like appendage and grants a perfectly balanced offense and defense. You can only get 1 tendril for this. Since bikaku is activated by multiple different injuries sustained at once, it enhances all aspects of combat with a tough, flexible tail-like tendril. It enhances mobility, agility, speed, defense. It's very good at medium range attack. The tail is pretty long, so if you're medium range, it's pretty good for there because it can extend and keep the person at bay. It's weak to long range fighters though, because at a distance you can just fire off and then keep them at bay, and they can't really do much. So yeah, that's bikaku, and that's the overall balance. If you're fighting with bikaku, you're kind of like confident that this person's pretty strong, but they're not really gonna overwhelm me. Let's go bikaku, and that's activated by this one. You have to sustain injuries from another person, so this is the only one where it's not a self-inflicted injury. Someone else has to cause multiple injuries. So if they put a hole through your chest or your arm or blow a chunk out of your leg, it'll break the bone, it'll bleed, it'll bruise, all that stuff. So you can activate it through that. Let's get into the conditions of each one of these. First, let me go over them again. Ukaku manifests in red feathery wings, and it increases speed and attack speed. Then we have kokaku, which comes from the shoulder blades, and it boosts defense by allowing you to coagulate the blood or harden the blood and form objects, shields, armor, weapons, all that stuff. Next is Rinkaku, which activates by breaking a bone, and it grants regenerative properties and enhanced attack power by quantity, just amount of attacks you can launch. And then lastly, bikaku, this activates in the tailbone area from multiple injuries, and it gives you a tail-like appendage that balances offense and defense. It's weak to long range. Rinkaku is weak to like heavy attacks. Kokaku is weak to speed attacks, and Ukaku is weak in close range combat. They all have their pros, their cons. Those are all the 4 types of bloodright. Let's get into the conditions. If Kaneki wins, bloodright grants a full heal at the end of the fight. So no matter what type of bloodright he uses, Ukaku, kokaku, Rinkaku, etc., if he wins the fight, all injuries sustained, full heal instantly. Now, if Kaneki retreats, or it's a draw, or is forced to, regain, nothing happens. The wounds will stay how they are, and they will heal normally. If he loses, bloodright will double all damage sustained, even the self-inflicted ones you use to activate the ability. That's a pretty tough condition, and it amplifies the strength of bloodright. Also, since enhancement is right next to transmutation, this is how he increases the size of his, versions of bloodright, because he just enhanced the amount of aura you can put into it. Pretty simple. He can use 80% of that. No big deal. So yeah, if he loses, damage will be doubled, and he could die depending on how bad he's injured. So it is a super risky condition, but that risk pays off. He knows, I can't really lose. If I'm getting overwhelmed, I have to dip out. It's kind of like the Killua mindset, the assassin mindset, and that's why I said he is an assassinations, stealth espionage expert, because his ability is super risky. If he fights a super strong opponent, he has to dip, or he could risk doubling the amount of pain he's in, which could lead to death. And then obviously the last condition is he must injure himself to activate it on all of them except for bikaku. So yeah, you have to injure yourself. You can't get your ass beat and someone cuts you and the ability will activate. No, you have to do it to yourself. So pretty decent condition. Let's talk about restrictions now. Bloodright can only be used with one version at a time. So you can't use bikaku and Rinkaku. You can only use one, and that's that. It's just how it goes. You cannot exceed or reduce the tendril amount for each version. So I told you the amount for for Ukaku, it was 1 to 4. For kokaku, it was 2, so on and so forth. You can't go outside of the range. So if you have 2, like kokaku, you only get 2. You can't use 1, and you can't have 3. If you have 1 to 8, you can use 1 to 8, but you can't have 9. That's how it goes. You have to stick to those rules. Even if you needed an extra one, too fucking bad. And that's just what it is. And lastly, the last restriction is the ability can only manifest on the 4 specific spots on Ken Kaneki's back. I already told you that. So it'll manifest on the back. That's just how it goes. It doesn't come from everywhere, which is not really a crazy condition, but it is just for a little boost. You know how it goes. Those are the conditions and restrictions. Let's talk about an amplifier. In exchange for covering one of his eyes and limiting his senses, he can bypass the restriction of only using one type at a time. And that's where he gets the moniker the one-eyed ghoul. So it's kind of like, who does this? Shoot, Hoftal Rafflesia, when he was fighting Yuppie, put his back against the wall, cover one of his eyes. he can boost the strength of his ability. Kaneki does this by always wearing an eye patch over his eye, and so he can use multiple versions of bloodright at a time, or multiple Kagane at a time, and get both of the effects. Imagine using bikaku and Ukaku. So you have 1 to 4 wings, so you get short burst of quick flight, and you have the tail-like appendage for defense, grabbing things, attacking, defense. So that would be an insane combo. He can combo these up as long as he has one eye, blind. If you want to use kokaku and Ukaku, you can overcome the weakness of kokaku being weak to speed attacks by giving yourself speed with Ukaku, the wings. And you can remove the weakness of Ukaku being weak in close combat by having kokaku with condensed and hardening weapons and shields and armor. So you can fight in various ways. You can make different combinations as long as you're covering one eye. And, that's what he does. Like, why not add that in there? Because he does that shit anyway. It's a perfect condition. So that's how Ken Kaneki fights. I would say he uses Rinkaku the most. He breaks that little finger. Boom, the move. Breaks that bone and uses the 1 to 8 tendrils of Rinkaku that grant regenerative properties and enhanced attack power. So he's really reckless when he fights with Rinkaku, breaking his bones, just overall attacking. The tendrils will get broken or whatever, and he'll regen and just keep attacking. It's just an oppressive, just blitz of a fighting style, and he doesn't care about getting injured because he has on a passive healing buff from using Rinkaku. But if he does lose, all the injuries he sustained will be doubled. So it is very dangerous, and the healing for Rinkaku isn't like an instant heal. It's just like if you get gashed on your side of your stomach, it'll start healing at a rapid rate. It's not just going to close up, but it'll start the healing process really quick. So that's how he would use it. He uses more for assassination types when he's working as an assassin. He uses Ukaku a lot. Just speed, shoot a crystallized thing, head tap, heart tap, whatever it is. And then quick getaway with the short bursts of flight. That's how I would use it if I was Kaneki. I think it fits Kaneki's style a lot, this ability. And it gives him a lot of range since he does end up having a shit ton of Kagane sacks, different types, and so this allows him to stay true to that. And let me know your thoughts. How would you do this? What ability would you give Kaneki? Sometimes I go off the rails and make a new ability, but I think Kaneki's a sick enough character, and Tokyo Ghoul's RC cell power system is fucking good enough to where I needed to keep that in. I needed to keep the RC cells, nature of thinning and hardening and all that shit because it's super cool. And then you add Nen and combine that with it, then you get some shit like this. Pretty cool. Obviously, in Tokyo Ghoul, he can just fight. He can activate it and fight, and there's no really rules to it. And he heals up because he's a ghoul. He's not healing in Hunter x Hunter. That's not how it works in Hunter x Hunter. You have to actually have an ability that heals you, or you just heal over time like a regular person. You do get advanced healing by manipulating your life force, but it's still not going to just heal up a gash. So it's different here. He can't be too reckless, and he has to pick and choose and be strategic with his fighting style. That's bloodright. You have bloodright Ukaku, grants a boost in speed and attack speed. Bloodright kokaku, defense. Bloodright Rinkaku, which is attack power and regenerative abilities. And then you have bikaku, which is a balanced offense and defense. Which one do you think is the best one? If you had to pick only one to fight with mainly, which one would you pick for you personally? I know, these open world games where you have to pick a class, a mage, a warrior, a knight. Which one would you use? If you had to only pick one, which one would you pick? Honestly, I would pick low key, bro. Bikaku speaks to me, bro. I like the balance. I like the fact that it has a tail, so I can get the mobility, agility. I like just all of that. I like the balance of it. I do like Rinkaku, but the weakness of the tendrils may, if you get another oppressive fighter, it may come back to bite you. I know you have the healing, but if they're faster than you and their attack speed's faster than you, they may overwhelm you. 8 tendrils just may not be enough, man. You just never know. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on this ability. How do you think Ken Kaneki would use this ability? Let me know an ability you want to see, like another person with the Nen ability or any other ability. And yeah, just let me know your overall thoughts, man. This is pretty cool. He's an N. He can make these shits invisible. And I think also with Ukaku, if he gets that blood on you, he can use that as N to track you. So that's also another part of his espionage, where if you're fighting, get blood, and you dip out, if the blood is still on you, that counts as his N, and so he can track you. Pretty sick, right? That's pretty tough, bro. This ability is tough. I'm not gonna lie. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.
君の気持ちを大事にしなかった私の頭